It's Thursday, September 12th, 2019, and this is the Pro and the Con Show. And as it says on the slide, I'm your host, Michael James Ott. Welcome to the show. Almost 2 weeks. Missed almost 2 weeks being on vacation up in Alaska. Saw a lot of things up there. Had a great time. My niece had a wonderful wedding. Lots of great things with family and stuff like that. So, awesomeness. Now back to the show. So the Pro and Con Show. So encouraging everybody to be open, at least open to opposing views, and certainly to embrace the whole truth, which is the pro and the con, the good and the bad, the for and against on whatever the issue is. So a lot of times I'll go through the different websites and look at how they're viewing the different main news items for the day and how they're kind of putting their own spin on it, which I encourage you to do. But today I just want to talk about elections. And so the title of the show, the subtitle of the show is Special Election. So there's a couple things happening today. So one is that the Democratic Party's having yet another debate amongst the candidates for the party, or for the nomination from that party. The other thing that's happening is there's getting to be, I think there's 3 or maybe even 4 Republicans that are entering into a primary race against Mr. Trump. And then on top of that, there's some of these special elections. People are leaving office or whatever, and in one of them down in North Carolina, actually during the last election, there was an issue where the election was so close, the midterms back in 2018, the elections were so close that actually the Election Commission in North Carolina ordered, and I think properly so, ordered a re-election. Okay, so they had a special election, and this is a Breitbart here. So Republican Dan Bishop wins a very close race. The reason why I point out this particular one, let me read you a few facts from this here. So, 99% of the precincts are reporting, and Bishop defeated his opponent, McCready, by about 4,000 votes. So about 4,000 votes out of 180,000 cast, roughly. And the interesting thing to me is that both the political parties, and I've told you many times, I'm going to say it many times in the future, they're one of the major sources of the problems we have within our society, within our governance, with all of us in our community. And so a Republican and Democrats both targeted this because it was so close originally, so they spent a lot of money. So Republicans and Republican-aligned groups spent more than $6 million on behalf of Bishop's candidacy, while the Democrat and Democratic groups spent more than $3 million on behalf of McCready, and each candidate themselves also spent about $2 million. Total spending was about $14 million for a special election for a person that's going to be in office for maybe a year before they have to go for election again. So this is so I plead with you, if you watch this video, I plead with you to open your mind to this idea that the political parties are really, really bad for our society, bad for our governance, and we should figure out a way to bypass them. And the way that I'm proposing to bypass them, which was the amalgam of some ideas that myself and some friends came together on, is this whole idea of basically very similar to jury duty, only this is candidate duty or office representative duty. And so in order to avoid raising all this money and spending all this money and having this political clash and focusing on candidates that we really don't want, and candidates that are hell-bent, many of them, on not serving us as individuals, but serving themselves. So Mr. Trump being one of the major poster children for that concept of serving yourself in office. So we've got to stop relying on these political parties to find candidates who would be king, and then then the limited choices that we have of people that really we shouldn't be allowing to run in the first place, or they shouldn't be the only choices. But again, you and I, there's 340 million of us, we are allowing this to happen, and we need to stop doing that. We need to stop doing that. We need to embrace a new election system, and the only way that we're going to do this, because the political parties are so embedded, is for us, you and I, to start a groundswell movement, step by step, inch by inch, talking to everybody about this, to get rid of. So this jury duty, or the analogy to jury duty, would eliminate all the big money, all the special interests, all the influence from these party bosses and all this other stuff. And what we'd end up doing is finding randomly selected people that would be part of a jury pool. Now these people are just potential people that would be in office, the potential, just like in a jury. And then they're forced to do mandatory disclosure, just like you do in a jury. Where do you live? What do you do? Stuff like that. Have you seen this? Have you seen? I mean, whatever the criteria are for candidates, we have to answer those questions. That would all go into a super secure centralized database that we periodically and repeatedly look at, including the candidates themselves, and validate and revalidate that the information in there is accurate. And then you and I, the rest of us, 340 million strong, we end up looking at that information and then deciding, maybe we do a rank vote. So we have 5 votes in total. The one that we prefer the most, we give that 5 points, 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, 1 point. And we look through the candidates for president and or potential or Senate or representative or whatever. And yep, these are the people that I think based on what I see here. And then of course everyone doing that's going to cause some number of them to rise to the top, and everyone else gets sent home, just like from jury duty, right? You either become part of the jury or you don't. So you get sent home, you don't worry about it anymore. And only the people that are left go through an initial or an additional stage of, they have to speak in front of town halls, answer questions about, how they feel about issues, how they, approach problem solving and so on, and all these kinds of things. And, they have to make public speeches and that kind of stuff. And this is all standardized, but again, put in this central location where we all can view it, and the information is validated and verified repeatedly to make sure that there's no potential for influence from people outside of the system. And then, so that's going to narrow the field even further. Then, the people that didn't make it to the final voting, if you will, to the final candidacy, again, they go home. They don't worry about it. And then the last people that are left go through a final vote with the final, information that they provide, and they, speeches or whatever that they do. And then we vote, and then everyone gets assigned. Based on the voting, they get assigned to their final place, and then that's it. And those people, they serve whatever we determine. Right now, it'd be two assuming the structure, and I've said in the past that the structure is just fine. So if you're elected to the House of Representatives, you serve for 2 years, you go home. If you are elected to the Senate, you serve for 6 years, you go home. If you're elected President of the United States, you serve for 4 years, you go home. And that's it. And just like jury duty, there's, of course, rules and regulations. Your employers have to re-employ you after you serve, and so on and so forth. And when you go in, go to office, you swear an oath, just like you do in jury duty, to do your best to understand the truth and to carry out the instructions, and fairly judge whatever is being presented to you without bias or malice. And so you serve your time and then you go home. And no re-elections, and no big money, no PACs, no influence from industry, special interest groups, foreign governments. And quite frankly, if we were to adopt this, I'm pretty darn sure that this would become the new model and that people would clamor for it all around the world. Because the political party stuff, it's killing us. It's killing us. And you know it, you feel it, you see it every single day. I don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat or independent even. You see it every single day. Don't tell me you don't. I know you do. I know you do. So I had an old mentor of mine, captain on board one of the submarines I was on, basically tell me, if you aren't trying to solve the problem, you are the problem. What he means by that is problems, if we work on them, they get resolved. Problems only exist because we have either elected not to work on them or have not started working on them yet. You work on them, problems get resolved. So therefore, problems only exist if we don't work on them, if we don't try to solve them. So try to solve them. If you have a better idea, let me know. oddin2020 at gmail.com or go on, respond on Facebook or whatever. But, it's up to us. And if you want things to be better, and they can be, I guarantee you they can be markedly better. They can be markedly better. But if you want them to be better, you're going to have to participate. And you're going to have to solve this fundamental problem of bad election structure. All right, so for Thursday, September 12th, 2019, my name is Michael James Ott. Thanks for watching the show. Look forward to talking to you again real soon. And until then, bye for now.